Hi, I'm Phyllis. My website is southernfrugal.com. I wanted to come and give y'all a quick update and just talk for a little while. So, I slept last night and I was just shocked when I woke up this morning. It was just a little before 8 o'clock. I had slept all night and so I wanted to talk to you about that because the only night I slept was after I came home from the hospital back in May. One night I slept all night, but the rest of the time I would be lucky to get maybe 4.5 hours of sleep. Mostly it was less than that. No naps in the daytime because I couldn't go to sleep then either. So what I did last night, it was late in the evening, maybe 5 or 6 o'clock. I was sitting in the den with Mr. Bucky, and he was watching some kind of sports or something on TV. And I just suddenly got an urge for chocolate chip cookies. I mean, I wanted them in the worst kind of way. So I went to the freezer, because that's where I keep all of my stuff like that, chocolate and nuts and everything, in the door of the freezer. I didn't have any milk chocolate chips, which is the kind I like best. So I went back in the den, I sat down, and I just wanted some of those cookies in the worst kind of way. I mean, just had to have them. So I went back to the freezer, and I found a pack of this. It's semi-sweet chocolate, which normally I don't like. And so I made some chocolate chip cookies, not like this. I made the white ones like on the back of the Nestle's little bag. And I put walnuts in them, and I took this and I just put it on my cutting board and cut it up in little bitty squares. So I went ahead and mixed up the cookies and then waited a little while and went ahead and baked them. They were out of this world good, just exactly what I wanted. And I have never liked semi-sweet chocolate, but now I love it for whatever reason, I don't know. But anyway, those cookies have 2 sticks of butter, which is really a cup of butter in them, and 1 egg, I think, and then of course flour and everything. So, and by the way, I'm going to put that recipe right down below. And so anyway, I ate the cookies. I ate 3 of them, and Mr. Bucky had 3 too. And I had a big glass of almond milk, and he had a glass of regular milk. So then we decided to watch some episodes of Band of Brothers. We had already seen that before, but we wanted to watch it again. It had been, several years since we watched it. So we did, and Mr. Bucky, of course, fell asleep, and I continued watching. I watched 3 episodes. At 12:30, I went to bed and went straight to sleep. I was just shocked. I woke up around 3, went to the bathroom, and went back to bed, fell straight back asleep again, and slept till almost 8 o'clock. So I literally had 7.5 hours of sleep last night. I'm a different person today. I can tell you, I got to where I couldn't think clear. So then I remembered back years ago, I was dieting, and I started getting those heart palpitations, PVCs, I think is what they call them. And I remember I went to a cardiologist, and he asked me if I was trying to lose weight, and I said, well, as a matter of fact, I am. And he said, well, I can tell you now, your heart needs sugar. Your brain needs sugar. It doesn't care what kind it is, but it needs the sugar. And so I quit dieting, and of course the PVCs went away. So I remembered that this morning, wondering if that was part of the problem of why I wasn't sleeping, because we were not eating any kind of sugar. I maybe had a teaspoon in a glass of tea, and that was it. I just didn't have any taste for anything sweet at all since I had the operation. So I'm just baffled today on all of a sudden. I had the craving for the chocolate chip cookies, and by the way, I put walnuts in them. And then I slept last night. So here are the cookies. Let me show you. And I do like the get the lid off that. I do like the semi-sweet, because that chocolate melts flat. Can y'all see that? In there. Yeah. So, guess what I'm going to do tonight? I'm going to have more chocolate chip cookies, and I'm going to do the almond milk too, because I don't really drink regular cow's milk. So anyway, that's where we are. I slept last night, and I'm just a different person this morning. I am. I really got to where I couldn't even half think, you know? Like I remember trying to do the groceries, and Mr. Bucky, of course, went and picked them up. And it must have taken me 3 hours to do what I could do in 30 minutes before. So I knew something wasn't right. So now I also want to, I made some notes because I didn't want to miss anything. I want to thank y'all for all the gifts. Y'all have sent gifts and cards, unreal. And I just want to mention a couple of the things. One lady sent me a dress that fit perfect. I couldn't believe she was able to figure out what size. And another person sent some of those chocolate covered strawberries, and were they delicious? They really were very good. But all the cards have been so encouraging, and especially when y'all mention other people that have had the same kind of cancer that I got, and they're still alive. So, that was very encouraging. So, I've got a bun, and why have I got a bun? Because Mr. Bucky is growing out his beard, and I absolutely hate it. It makes him look like he's 100 years old. He doesn't care. He just doesn't want to shave. So he was letting it grow out a little bit, and I said, well, let me give you a shave, and he agreed to it. But now he's letting it grow out again. So we're going to see how he likes the bun, because the bun's going to stay as long as the beard stays. That's the rule. So also, I wanted to mention a young man who posted a video showing different excerpts from a lot of my videos. And he did this, it's been a long time ago, and then he did some others. And he is an internet friend. He's not my enemy, y'all. And he's a very nice young man too, by the way. All right, so I told you about the chocolate chip cookies. Now, my weight, I have gained 4 pounds, and it has been a real struggle. I'm eating like 4 times a day and just cramming myself, trying to gain weight before chemotherapy. And so far I've gained 4 pounds. So also, on the American Cancer Society website, I've read every word, I think, on that site. They talked about people who do exercise fare a lot better than those who don't, particularly to do with chemotherapy. So I decided to do my spring cleaning, and it's taken me longer than it usually does, but nothing had been cleaned because I got sick really. The first time I was sick was January 26th, and then it went into February and March, and then all the way into April, and so I never got the spring cleaning done. So when I was cleaning upstairs, there are 2 bedrooms that are just really guest bedrooms, and they still had pollen on the furniture, so that tells you how long it had been. So I'm doing that. We just call it work exercise, vacuuming the whole 9 yards, and I really started getting better when I started doing stuff like that. And I'm not really, Mr. Bucky's doing a lot of the cooking, meal planning, and I'm doing some of it. So I want to get back to it, of course, because this morning I found peanut butter on this cabinet up here where you open the door. Peanut butter on my cabinet. I couldn't believe it. I had to clean it off. Anyway, so I cleaned my kitchen somewhat, but I got to do a lot of cleaning in here, particularly on the lower cabinets. All right, so let me see what else I wanted to mention. I mentioned about the exercise, and of course vacuuming and mopping and all cleaning out bathrooms is great exercise. It really is. So anyway, and the lady that I want to mention this again that sent those chocolate covered cherries, they were so good. And all the cards, I've been overwhelmed with all of that because I realize that so many people watch the channel, and we all like each other, okay? And the comments are wonderful, and of course I do still need prayer. Now I wanted to mention, I might have mentioned this in that last video. One day, this has been 3, maybe 4 weeks ago, I woke up and was just freezing. And I had been asleep maybe a couple of hours, if that. And so as the day wore on, I just kept getting colder and colder. I just didn't comprehend I had a temperature. So I finally took my temperature, and it was 102. So the instructions from MUSC said that if you ran a temperature of 101, you should go straight to the emergency room. So that's what we did, and I took an extra strength Tylenol, and of course the temperature left. And so they did a CT scan, and they said that they first told me I had 2 lymph nodes in my lungs that were enlarged. Well, as it turned out, it was only 1 that was enlarged. So I had to go a couple of weeks later to the hospital again, be admitted, and they wanted to do a needle biopsy of that lymph node. They showed it to me on the CT scan, and it was definitely enlarged. So we went in and had that done. They do it by putting the thing down your throat and going through, I guess, the esophagus to get to it. Only the guy who did it was a pulmonary specialist, and he could not reach it going in that way. So I had to kind of go through all that kind of for nothing. And so the oncologist said no, he still wanted to look at it. So the pulmonary guy said he could go through my shoulder because the lymph node is right in the middle of my chest, which is not normally where that type of cancer goes. It usually goes to the top of the lungs, not down in the middle or the bottom. So anyway, the oncologist said, no, we can't do chemotherapy until we know what that is. So now I've got to go to an actual surgeon, and what he's going to do is drill a hole through my breastbone, go in and get a needle biopsy that way. So if it turns out that that is the same kind of cancer, then the chemotherapy is totally different. That's why they've got to know. So I don't have the appointment with the surgeon until June 18th. Then it'll probably be another few days before they actually do the surgery. So I don't look forward to that, but I still think that had to do with that temperature I ran that day. So when I originally went to the emergency room for that, they checked my blood to make sure I had no infection in the blood, and they also did the CT scan to see if I possibly had an abscess to do with the surgery. Well, they didn't find anything, and of course my temperature was normal. Now, for the next couple of days, I still ran a little bit of a temperature, but then it just left. So I asked the oncologist, I said, now, do you normally run a temperature when cancer spreads to a lymph node like that? And he said, no, you don't run a temperature with that. So it still could be some type of little infection that the lymph node encapsulated, really. So we're hopeful that it's not cancer. But if it is, then we'll just take the regular treatment that they recommend. So let me think if there's anything else. I did gain 4 pounds. To date, I've gained 4 pounds. And again, not eating anything real sugar, was eating carbs, but eating a lot more meat, because that's what they told me to do, to eat as much animal protein as I could possibly eat to help restore my liver. And so that's what we had been doing. I mean, forcing it, because 4 ounces of animal protein is enough for me in any day. But I was eating a lot more than that. So anyway, so that's about it. I can't think of anything else. I am going to leave the recipe down below for using this type of chocolate. Those cookies were beyond belief good. I'm going to have to tell you, so much better than those little chocolate chips, and I'm not sure why, but they're just absolutely delicious. And I did, instead of using pecans, which I usually use, and for you northerners, pecans, okay? And I used the the English walnuts. So I don't know what it was, but whatever it was, it worked. So anyway, to all y'all who have prayed that I would sleep, it worked, okay? I had to do the cookies for whatever reason, I don't know. Maybe it was to do with the chocolate, maybe it was to do with the butter and the cookies, the sugar. I have no idea, but it worked. And so I'm going to be doing the exact same thing tonight. We tried every kind of sleep help on the market and nothing worked. The melatonin worked a little bit, but not very well. So if I just needed sugar for my brain and heart while I was asleep, then I'm willing to eat the cookies, okay? All right, y'all. Thanks again for all the cards and the well wishes and the wonderful comments. So we will see y'all hopefully at some point. I'm going to get back to the cooking. And let me show you my bun. Yeah, there it is. Mr. Bucky hates it, and I hate his beard. So the battle continues. All right, see y'all next time. Bye for now.